Good evening, everyone. I call this regular meeting of the HERE Commission to order at 6:35 p.m. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Khan. Thank you. Adrian, can we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Borja? Commissioner Branhag?
Here.
Commissioner Fitzsimmons?
Here.
Commissioner Herrera?
Present.
Commissioner Khan?
Present.
Vice Chair Godo?
Here.
Chair Jennings Nunez?
We'll now have some announcements from our staff liaison, Matthew Morales-Stevens.
Thank you. Tonight's meeting is live streamed on Cable Channel 3 and our online platforms. If you wish to address the HERE Commission during tonight's meeting, we request that you please complete a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk, Adrian Franquez. When speaking, please state your name for the record. If you wish to be added to the distribution list to receive HERE Commission agendas, please email your request to herecommission@sgch.org.
Thank you, Matthew. The first item is approval of the agenda order. If there are no objections to the agenda order. Hearing none, the agenda order is approved. Thank you, Commissioner Khan. All right. Now is the time for public comment. This is the time set aside for members of the public to address the HERE Commission on items of interest that are not on the agenda but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the HERE Commission. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the HERE Commission cannot answer any questions or take any action until such time as the matter may appear as an item on a future agenda. If you wish to address the HERE Commission, please fill out a speaker's card and hand it to the clerk. Matthew, do you have any?
We have one speaker card.
Yes, a comment by Ann Kinney Edinger.
Thank you and good evening. I'm Ann Kinney Eitinger. I live at 711 Domingo Drive, and I want to talk about climate change and the climate emergency that the world is in, that we're all part of. And I would love to see the climate emergency on your agenda soon. I woke up in the middle of the night a few weeks ago and thought, yes, San Gabriel could be such a cool town. It could be a leader for climate action. I am a climate activist. I have set up a protest or climate strikes in front of City Hall during the COVID years, and the response in San Gabriel is almost nothing. In my neighborhood, on my street, I've had a lot of response and involvement, but we've got to act. There's so much that San Gabriel could do, and we've got to do it for our citizens, especially those who are underserved, those who need mental health services. There's going to be a lot more need for that. There already is. But my first desire is to see San Gabriel as a city declare a climate emergency. And I can help you do that. There are all kinds of resources. There are thousands of cities across the globe who have done it. And what it is a formal document that says we are going to do these things. And they don't have to be expensive. They don't have to be difficult. They're actually very simple. But the most difficult one in San Gabriel is educating our citizens, because people kind of know about it, they don't have time, but they don't realize that there is a lot that they can do that makes a huge, huge difference. And my urging right now is for you to help me. I need help. There are other neighbors. You have neighbors. We need help to do something and get going. I can't even list all the things we have to do, but I met with Denise Menchaca yesterday, with Mark and with Aldo, and they're on board. And I know you all are too. I see your heads nodding. Anyway, that's my plea. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
We do not.
Okay. So the next
Oh.
item is,
Can we ask any question?
no, not at this time. For public comment, no. The approval of the minutes. Matthew, do we have any public comments on this action item?
We do not have any further comments.
All right. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our August 23rd meeting. If anyone has any changes or edits, if not, we'll need a motion to approve the minutes.
I made the motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Motion made by.
Sorry, I didn't turn it on.
Thank you. Commissioner Fitzsimmons made the motion. Do we have a second?
And I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Bernhag. All right, Adrian, can we take a vote?
Commissioner Borja,
Aye.
Commissioner Brenham,
Aye.
Commissioner Fitzsimmons,
Aye.
Commissioner Herrera,
Aye.
Commissioner Khan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Godo.
Aye.
Motion passed by a vote of 6 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and 1 absent.
Thank you. All right, we are on to our discussion items. Our first discussion item is regarding street name change guidelines. And we have a guest here, Aldo Cervantes, the Community Development Director, who will present draft guidelines for street name changes. Thank you, Aldo.
Good evening, Vice Chair and members of the HERE Commission. My name is Aldo Cervantes, the Community Development Director for the City of San Gabriel. This item pertains to a request by staff as well as the City Council to provide comments, feedback, or potential changes on a new draft guideline to address street name change requests or applications. This item was presented to Council on May 3rd, 2022, in which the Council directed staff to draft the guidelines to address street name change applications. The city currently does not have a policy nor guidelines to address these types of applications. The council also directed staff to solicit comments and feedback from the Historic Preservation Commission, the HERE Commission, as well as the Planning Commission. Staff has already approached the Historic Preservation Commission, which you'll see comments in the staff report. On October 10th, we plan to approach the Planning Commission for the final stage before going back to the City Council for their comments and feedback. Public Safety as well as Public Works and our City Attorney have reviewed the draft guidelines and their changes are incorporated into the draft today or tonight. Staff has, as I mentioned, received comments from the Historic Preservation Commission. Those comments can be found in the staff report on page 2 and also page 3. For reference purposes, for the HERE Commission, the history regarding the origins of this request or this item can be found on page 1 of the staff report as well. A majority of the sections of the guidelines are really intended to address a lot of public safety matters as well as public safety standard conditions. It's really section 4 that is a highlighted section, although the entire guidelines are up for grabs in terms of making comments or changes. But Section 4 is really sort of the basis, I guess, or the guidelines, as it's the process that allows for the selection of names. So this section, again, is sort of the nuts and bolts of the guidelines, but of course, all the other sections can be also changed at the pleasure of the HERE Commission. Regarding the fees, there was a discussion at the Historic Preservation Commission regarding fees. I know there's been comments regarding fees as of late. To address fees, I will say that any fee associated with an application must be based off a cost recovery type system. Fees cannot be arbitrary to prevent someone from not filing, for example. As an example, fees of an exorbitant amount cannot be implemented just for the purposes of not having someone apply for the application. Fees have to be sort of assigned to the cost recovery system. The fees that are addressed in the staff report have been vetted by Public Works Department, and we find that that is going to address cost recovery system with respect to, for example, labor and materials, labor being the installation of the sign, materials being the actual sign itself. So with that said, staff recommends that the HERE Commission discuss the matter of a street name change guideline, as well as to provide comments and feedback or potential changes to the draft guidelines as well. So I open for questions and for comments.
Thank you, Aldo. Our chair, Jennings Nunez, is not able to be here today, but she did send in some commentary. Matthew, is it all right if I read it, or would you want to? Okay. So this is from our chair. She says, I was able to listen to the City Council meeting on May 3rd when the inquiry to change a portion of Bencamp Street to Hinghwa Lee Place was made. At the conclusion of this agenda item on May 3rd, the City Council gave direction to the city staff to create guidelines for street name changes in San Gabriel and recommended that input from the Historical Preservation and Cultural Resource Commission and the HERE Commission be obtained to ensure that ideas of inclusivity, diversity, and historical significance were considered in the guidelines. I listened to the September 14th meeting of the HPCRC as well. In addition to the HPCRC's recommendation that the application for any street name change go before their commission, I would also like to see the application go to the HERE Commission before it is submitted to the City Council for approval. It is within the purpose and scope of the HERE Commission to evaluate a proposed change name for potentially quote, awkward, discriminatory, or derogatory name, quote, unquote, names as stated in Guideline 4.4 of the draft guidelines. I agree that the fee for street name changes should be significant enough that it is not an endeavor that is taken lightly. I would also like to see a guideline that allows the City Council to waive that fee if the street name change is designated as one that fosters inclusion and promotes discussion and education about the stories of ethnic, minority, and indigenous groups that have previously been told from a limited and majority culture perspective. The applications for these name changes may come directly from the HERE and or HPCRC commissions. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in the creation of these guidelines. So that was from our chair. No questions, just commentary. I'd like to open it up for the other commissioners if you have any questions or comments you'd like to make.
For the record, there's no public comment unless there's anyone in the seats that. Would you like to make a public comment by chance on this agenda item? About the street renaming? No? Okay.
Sorry, I skipped that, Matthew.
No problem. So then we are all set.
Okay. So since there is no public comment on this item,
Yes.
Commissioner Fitzsimmons, did you have something?
Yes. Good evening, Aldo. Thank you for coming and explaining this to us, because this is something that's very important, and I think it's something that we need to take very seriously. The citizens and all of the commissions need to really look into this before any kind of final approval is made. My question is the deposit and the fee that the person would put down. Now, this is $5,000?
Not in this case, no. What we're proposing is a administrative cost of about $700 with a deposit of $1,000. And that is intended to cover the cost of having to review the application, submit an application to the City Council. Of course, that includes drafting a report, drafting an ordinance, presenting it, so staff time, for example, the $1,000 can be used to offset the cost of having to purchase materials or supplies for the actual installation of a sign.
Because to me, I think that's a little bit too low. I think we should up that a little bit, because if you have private entities that are coming in and want to have a name change, then I think we need to up that fee so that they would stop and think, do we really want to do this? Because by changing the names in the city, it's going to change the whole facial upright of the whole city. Some of these names have historical meaning to them. And I think by changing these and putting other names in, this is something that we really need to be serious about and to think about changing some of these names. Because a lot of them have been here for many, many, many years. And like I said, they have historical value to it. So I think by upping that fee a little bit, maybe these people that are coming in thinking, oh, well, I'd like to just change that just because, blah, 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 that maybe if we up that fee a little bit, they might say, oh, well, wait a minute, maybe that's a little bit more than what we could afford.
Commissioner Herrera?
Yeah, so, all right, here's the thing with me, with the fees. It sounds reasonable, right, to say, okay, well, let's up the fees. But let's really look at who's trying to change the name here. It's a jeweler shop. You think if we throw a bigger number, that's gonna stop them from creating the same name as basically the jeweler? Is that the same name of the jewelry shop?
It's a relative of the owner.
Right. So I mean, at this point, I feel like it's more like a marketing strategy there. Now you come in and have they been here in the city as a jeweler for a while?
Yes, for I want to say over 30 years.
Okay, so they've been here in the community for over 30 years. Now, what gives, let's just say Ranch 99 wants to change the street name to Ranch 99. What are we gonna do then? I mean, where do we draw the line? And what do the community feel? I mean, if the community wants to change the name, if they agree on changing the name, then go for it, right? But I don't think anybody in the community would like for a street that they known for whatever many years, that's been known a certain name, and then now you change it to Ranch 99 Way or Ranch 99 Place. We also have, I don't think they will be happy. I don't think the community will be happy. And now with that said, when we put the public notice, if they do decide to go down that route, well, we're gonna prove it, we're just gonna up the prices, $2,000, $10,000 to change the street name, whatever the amount, you wanna throw in a ridiculous number, they're gonna pay it. They're gonna pay it. That's a big marketing strategy there, right? You're changing the whole community there with the name, just the name by itself. You're gonna upset a lot of residents, okay, by doing that. So how do we connect with the residents and how do we make this process, no, I don't wanna say difficult, but I wanna say fair. How do we make this process fair? I'm kinda curious what the city of LA is doing, or other cities, how they're going about doing this. I could understand if it was a newer development and they're like building like a little cul-de-sac where it's gonna require a new name. I could understand that, right? But then we have to be careful on with these developers that are coming into our city and allowing them to make way and do whatever they want, changing basically everything in our city. And now everybody wants to get a name change to their store, right? I feel, they've been in the community for over 30 years, and I admire that. But there has to be a process, right? We can't just allow people well, I guess you could allow people to do whatever they want in the community, but as long as it's fair, that's my biggest point. As long as it's fair and we're giving everybody, not only the people that are living in that block, but everybody in the community a fair say. And now when you start naming your street, and I hate to rant on, but when you start naming your street the same name of your business, anybody's gonna pay. They got the money, they're gonna pay. So we gotta maintain that, the community sense here in the city of San Gabriel. So I would like to see what the city of LA is doing, because you don't really see that happening much over there. Now, I've seen where where companies have gone and created, and it's just a little strip of land where it's feeding to their business. When we do that, I mean, I think maybe that would be a little bit more fair, right? Because you're not changing the whole makeup of the whole block, right? It's not affecting other people, other residents, and now they have to bear the name of the jewelry shop that's right there. I think that's, to be honest, I think that's a little bit, if I want to put myself in the residents' shoes, I think I would be a little upset that my street's been known for a certain name for so long, and now I have to have the same name, let's say KFC Way or KFC Place. Come on, that sounds a little far-fetched to me. If it's reasonable and if it's the street that does not affect anybody else in the community, and I see that they're building a significant amount here. I think they're developing something here on the street. Is that correct?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay, because I think I read something about the
I think that's
building an 11,000 square foot jewelry center. Is that correct?
I think that it has already been done. Yeah.
It already
Yeah.
has been done.
So this proposal was made several years ago. So this is a second request, is my
Okay.
understanding,
Okay.
to revisit. And I believe one of the reasons why it was declined the first time was to ensure that it wasn't giving unfair precedence to a business over others.
Right.
But my understanding also, although maybe you can elaborate, the application does require the applicant to give a significant historical or social reason for the renaming of the street. And I believe it did say in the guidelines that 50% of the assessed property owners on that street have to agree. Is that correct?
That's correct. And so if I can address some of the comments, the first comment about the historic LA sort of connection there, City of LA. Section 4 was inspired by the City of LA's condition about how to rename streets with respect to historic value. Although I would argue that ours is a lot more robust in the City of LA. City of LA has a one-liner, very broad guideline on how to name streets based off historic significance. Ours, if you take a look at Section 4, is a lot more robust than just a one-liner. So I wanted to address that. Second of all, these requests are very, very rare. In my research, it's in a staff report, we've only received about 2 or 3 in decades. And so this is really, in my mind, or in my research, really the second request for changing a street name. And so to address, some of the questions here, the city does not have a policy to address this situation. Anyone who owns property in the city or a neighborhood who wants to request a street name change can go through a process now minus any policy or guidelines. They're requested through the city council. The city council takes it upon during a public hearing process. We present a staff report as well as an ordinance, and it's up to the city council as to which way to go in terms of the application. This is an opportunity that the city has to develop guidelines to help guide an applicant to a certain sort of direction, per se. And if that direction is to, and I know some of us spoke about this earlier today, about looking at a tiered system where tier 1, you have to consider sort of the tribal impact or the tribal significance of the city of San Gabriel. That's number 1. If it's not taken, then go to tier 2, which can be some other type of significant historic item for the city of San Gabriel. Without these guidelines, it's just going to be a free-for-all, and we can certainly get applications here and there, but I think that an opportunity is before us. I think this is an opportunity to address how to address this situation, but ultimately it's a very rare application process. We don't get a lot of these as of late.
Thank you. Do any other commissioners have any questions or comments?
But I do feel that if this one is allowed, this is going to open Pandora's box.
Yeah, and
It's going to start.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Apologize.
Go ahead.
So I just to be clear, tonight we're not addressing the application that's in the history of the staff report. That's for the council to consider once this policy or guidelines are now implemented or adopted. That application certainly is pending, I would say. but is not before the HERE Commission, is not before the Planning Commission at this point. Certainly, we can make general comments about that application, but we're not acting on that matter tonight.
I had a couple of comments just on the actual application, draft application that was included in the packet. One of the things I see you have the application fee of $726 listed. That's non-refundable. Would you also include there the $1,000 deposit as a refundable, potentially a refundable amount if it is not used for other expenses? And for under the bullet point, the following documents must be provided. I didn't see the petition for the property owners or residents included there. So would you have that be part of the application process so that you're not just, to Commissioner Herrera's report, just getting applications from anyone who wants to change their name if they have to go out and get 50% of the property owners, and that I think would be a deterrent for someone just to pay the fee and move forward. So I would suggest that that be part of the application, and maybe you want to even include a form for capturing the data of the names and addresses and signatures of those who support it. And then I think items 3, 4, and 5 are actually just bullet points. They're not actually documents to attach, but I did notice that it says, if approved by the council, the city will send notices to the county assessor, joining property owners and utility companies. Does that also include the postal service, or is that something the assessor takes care of?
No, it would include the postal service as well,
Okay.
or the postmaster.
Got it. So we might want to put that in there as well, just so that's clear. And then it says also, if approved, the property owner must inform all utility companies that provide service to the property. But it looks like you're saying that the city will already notify the utility company, so we just might want to clarify whose role that is. Those were just some of the suggestions I had for the draft. If there are any other comments or suggestions, I want to thank you so much for all the work you've put into this, and I know it's an ongoing discussion. I do also concur with our chair that it would, I think we would all agree that the HERE Commission would also like to weigh in on any applications that come in.
So, if I may, if I'm getting this correctly, this is just for the application, right? The 726, that fee is just for the application.
Correct.
Now, if they meet all the criteria, if they get all the signatures, if they do everything that they're supposed to, I guess, well, then it will be a different fee, right? Because we will have to be doing the work, and it would just be depending on how big of a stretch, or how many signs, how many people. Do we happen to know, like, for example, that project that was back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much would that have ran the city?
That I don't know. I didn't go back and research, because that project was ultimately rejected. I don't think it ever got to the cost analysis for having to do that. I know that we had, or myself and our public works director had a discussion about that project a few months after the May meeting, about the potential of looking to tack on additional conditions on an application. For example, having the applicant, if approved, repave the street if it's in poor condition. So looking to tie in certain infrastructure improvements is something that we talked about as a potential condition of approval. We're not set on that yet. We're not exactly for that at this moment. It's just an idea that we threw out at the point.
I think that's a great idea, actually. And I would like to build on that to a point that was kind of made earlier for our guest. Also, making sure that we have enough. It depends on the residents, right? You repave the street. You make sure you have all the proper signage. That's a perfect opportunity to fix everything that needs to get done on that street. I don't know to what extent, right? Because we're not gonna. I don't know how deep we can go with that, but also making sure that a couple of trees are planted as well. I think that would be something that they could also include on that. It's a great point, and if lighting is needed in that street, it will be a perfect opportunity for that, if that's the route that the residents want to go, right? So that's a good point.
Thank you.
If there's no other commentary or question, Commissioner?
One more.
Yep.
The Historical Society Commission, now what is their role in this? I mean, they're going to help in one of the tiers as far as the names?
There's certainly an option to have an application go through the Historic Preservation Commission, HERE Commission, and even the Planning Commission if that's what the council wants to see. If the HERE Commission, and I've heard loud and clear, wants to get involved with reviewing applications, and that comment is going to go back to the City Council for them to consider a process. The Historic Commission also felt that it would be appropriate for them to see the applications as well, and so we can certainly go down that path if that's what the council wants to see.
I truly think that's a good idea because they would certainly be instrumental in helping out with the names
Right.
to make sure the names are correct and that they do fit. So I do think that they should be an integral part of this whole process as well.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We are to our next item, the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. We were having a speaker. It looks like our speaker may not have joined us this
Yeah,
evening.
so it looks like there was a miscommunication. She thought that it was a virtual meeting. She
Oh.
said she would be here at 7:08.
Okay.
So I don't know if we wanted to take a 5 or 10 minute health break and give her that opportunity to arrive, or if you want to continue with the agenda and skip that in its entirety, it would be up to you.
I think we can, if she's going to be here at 7:08, that's only a few minutes. So why don't we take a short break and hopefully she'll arrive.
Okay. So I move to take a recess of what, 5 or 10 minutes? I think 5 minutes is fair enough. 5-minute recess.
Any second? Thank you, Commissioner Khan, seconds.
Adjourn.
Shall we have a vote?
Commissioner Borja?
Aye.
Commissioner Brenhall?
Aye.
Commissioner Fitzsimmons?
Aye.
Commissioner Herrera?
Aye.
Commissioner Khan?
Yes.
Vice Chair Godo?
Aye.
Motion passed by a vote of 6 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and 1 absent.
Thank you. back from our break. Thank you, everyone, so much for holding on. We have our speaker here from the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, Amparo Ostijic. I hope I did not mess that up. She is the supervising mental health worker. She will present what outreach efforts have been made within San Gabriel and services available to the public through the department. Thank you so much, Amparo, for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here. And some of what I was going to do is just kind of do a brief overview of the event that we had, not last Sunday, but the one before that. So again, thank you so much for having us. As you can see, we just have a picture with some pictures of the event. And we had 3 language workshops, Chinese, English, and Spanish. So there was quite a bit of people in the English presentation, and there was a few in both the English and Spanish and Chinese. And the outreach table was really busy. We had a lot of people come in and share. We shared a lot of resources, and there was a lot of outreach in that sense. We had the promoters follow up with quite a few people that came and got information, so they followed up with resources like clinics, names of resources, and links like that. And that was kind of my short thank you for having us. We had a great time. We really appreciated being able to be part of this event. And Nora was our contact. She won't be able to continue working in this area, but I'll be the new contact, the new point person. So she just let me know she was doing some outreach, and she's going to send me some of the information. But as far as new organizations, we're looking to collaborate with new organizations and additional groups that may want to hear workshops. As you know, we offer 15 workshops regarding mental health, and we give the community a lot of free information, a lot of destigmatizing information that helps people be more likely to go to clinics, to locations to actually seek services. So that's a little bit about us, and I don't know if you have any questions for me. That was our little contribution.
Thank you so much. We really appreciated partnering with you on this event, the San Gabriel Mental Wellness Expo. It was our first attempt, and so it was wonderful to be able to partner with one organization that was able to provide the workshops in multiple languages. That was important to us. So we really appreciate it, and it's great to know that you'll be our contact moving forward. So I want to open it up to any of our commissioners who might have any questions or comments.
Yes, hi. Thank you again for coming out and doing the presentation for us. That's very wonderful. I had a question in regards to, do you do these presentations like at expos, something like we put on? Do you do them at the schools? Can you give me an idea of how, I guess, you put on these workshops to give us ideas as well?
Yeah, definitely. So we'll partner with like this kind of event, as well as churches, schools. We present at libraries. Any organization or community center that's willing to host us, we're happy to be there. And the presentations usually are an hour, sometimes a little longer if people want to do some Q&A. And yeah, so we are willing to pretty much go anywhere that will have us. We just kind of try to get at least 5 participants, and we do it virtually or in person. And we have Korean as well.
Any other? Commissioner
Yeah,
Herrera?
so thank you so much. I know I met you at the event. Thank you so much for coming in and really supporting, right? I had the pleasure to walk around and see some of these rooms, and to my surprise, they were pretty crowded. I mean, every single chair was basically occupied. My question, what was the level of engagement?
Well, I stopped by a little bit of the workshops, but it was pretty good. I saw that quite a bit of people were asking questions and had questions about the information. So I was really happy to see my promoters really provide that information and engage with the audience. So it was really good. I think the community seemed really interested in what they had to offer, and I think they learned a lot.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Could you maybe elaborate a little bit for anyone who might not be familiar with what the promoters are?
Oh, sure. So the United Mental Health Promoters Program is a program that started with Latino promoters going out in the community and talking to their neighbors, telling them about mental health. And one of the main things that we do is we have a curriculum of 15 workshops, 15 topics, and we basically present these topics in, like I mentioned, like community centers, different locations, and the idea is to destigmatize mental health. And so in addition to that, like you saw the outreach table, we do things like that. And we do linkage so that if someone needs services, we can connect them to the right clinic. So yeah, the goal of the program has really been to reach underserved communities. So we have, populations of focus. We have like Native American promoters, a lot of promoters in the API community, and obviously Latino, Chinese. So our focus is to reach the underserved population to get that community really active and engaged in mental health services.
And if someone was interested in volunteering or becoming a promoter, how would they go about reaching out to you?
They could reach out to me directly, but we are actually hiring. So if there's somebody that is interested in learning the information, the most important is that people have experience being part of the community, engaging people, and just willing to learn a little bit about mental health. But mostly it has to do with it entails people that are like already community leaders and already engaged and active community members. So it doesn't have to be someone with a specific type of work experience, but even volunteering, that kind of experience we count. So you can route them to me if you like. And yeah, we even have like a presentation on how to apply for the position, because it's really technically funny. It just asks for a lot of interesting questions, but we help out with that as well. So if there's anybody, you can send it our way.
Thank you so much. Any other questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, I do. So how do you evaluate the response from the presentations that you've done? Do you evaluate it all?
Yeah, we have a SDR, stigma reduction survey, SDR. And so at the end of every presentation, we have the participants take the survey, and then that lets us know whether the information is being received clearly, accurately. So we have the numbers of how many people we reached, and then we have the feedback from the survey that lets us know how the presentations are going.
So with that said, is that something that you can share with us later for our next meeting, so that we can, I think it will be kind of interesting to see what the people thought and what was on that survey.
Yeah, definitely. I can bring that back. So I'd be happy to get that data for you.
That would be really helpful. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Any other comments? We want to thank you so much for coming down and joining us, and also for all of your participation at the expo. Matthew, do we have any public comment?
We don't have any emails in. I don't know if there's anyone. Nope, no public comments.
All right, then the time for public comment on this item is now closed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so our next discussion item is on our 2022 annual work plan. The commission members will continue working on the approved 2022 annual work plan. The work plan items of primary focus will include item 2A, develop and implement programs and events, debriefing the San Gabriel Mental Health and Wellness Expo and the Native Heritage Month. And item 7C, gather information on demographics. Item 7A, the engagement survey. And item 7D, gather information on the number of people accessing translated agendas. So I guess we will start with the debrief on the Mental Wellness Expo. That was a great segue from our speaker to talk about our big event. On behalf of the entire HERE Commission, we want to thank everyone who came out to the event. Not only all of our wonderful exhibitors, workshop presenters, performers, volunteers, elected officials, and especially the community services staff and our public information officer, Clara Sang, but also all the members of the public who attended. It was our first big event, and your engagement let us know that mental wellness is a topic of great interest and importance to the community. It was great to see everyone there. Our Assembly Member Mike Fong presented us with this beautiful certificate that we have here. And our chair put together a little video that summarizes the day for anyone who was not able to attend. So, Matthew, can we show that?
Yeah.
Perfect.
And I apologize, she had sound to go with it, but I don't have that ability at the moment.
Great. I heard a little tiny bit of music. That was a really nice summary of the day. So our chair did send in her feedback. I know she really wanted to be at the meeting today, but I'm going to read her commendations first, and then I'd like our event chair, Commissioner Brenhog, to have the first go at our debrief, followed by her committee members, Commissioner Khan and Commissioner Borja, and then everyone will be welcome to chime in. So just to get us started, this is from our chair. The entire event from start to finish was more successful than any of us could have hoped for, and I want to thank the city staff members, Adriana, and all the staff who were there on Sunday to set up and break down the event. I'm especially grateful for the leadership and patience of Matthew in guiding our commission through the complex process of executing our first major public event. I also want to thank the committee, Commissioner Borja, Khan, and the chair, Commissioner Brenha, for all their work and energy they put into the event, particularly Commissioner Brenha, who worked extremely hard to fully realize her vision and to fulfill the expectations of the commission. And she also gave a shout out to Commissioner Herrera, who did an incredible job obtaining raffle prizes. We had a lot of raffle prizes. So those were from our chair, and I would like to turn it over to Commissioner Brenhog for your thoughts.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Goto, and I just want to thank everybody. This was the first time we've done this kind of event, and maybe the first time like one of these commissions has put on an event. So I think we did exceed a lot of our expectations. I did hear a lot of positive feedback from folks and a lot of interest. And yeah, I feel, especially I've heard a couple of people who felt like they've got a lot of really helpful information. And I was just hoping that it could be something like that people could walk away with some resources or some concrete information that they had not had before. And I feel very thankful to everybody here and to, everybody who was a part of it, for all of the effort that they put in. That said, I do, on a brief debrief note, just think that there can be things we can work on for any kind of event in the future that we are thinking about putting on. Just that it was maybe a lot more than I expected. I think the communication is really difficult. I think because of the Brown Act, and we are a little bit tied in the number of commissioners we can communicate with. And so I do propose in the future, if we were to do this, to have a few different subcommittees and divide the event up into different kind of categories, say like advertising, schedule and logistics, exhibitors, raffle, performances, like, have different things that people can just take on, and maybe call more special meetings so that it's not like we're waiting a month to share with everybody what's going on and get approval on, these things, so that we have some good milestones to hit. And then, I think I have done a lot of event planning in the past, but I have not done a lot of really official event planning, and I think that tripped me up a little bit. And so I think expectations around, say, how to communicate or get communication out to elected officials, how to, budget time for those things, how to, figure out what their staff, it's a lot of moving pieces. And I think also talking about a budget ahead of time, all these kinds of things. Like, there were a lot of little pieces, and I'm like, I think we did a really great job with what we had. And I think Matthew, oh my gosh, I cannot thank you enough. Like, he was just running around like late into the night, that whole week, just trying to get stuff done for us. So I think it was a really successful event. I think, having more organizational structure around it will help in the future. And I don't know if we're planning on doing anything around, Native American Heritage Month or that kind of thing, but if we think about doing events in the future, just knowing it's going to take a little bit more, I think, communication and organization and I think delegation of responsibility, because that's the hard thing. I did feel like I had a lot of responsibility. Matthew had a lot of responsibility, and then everything else was like, okay, we'll just kind of figure it out or something. Does anybody else want to weigh in?
Commissioner Borja? Oh, Commissioner Khan? Commissioner Borja, committee member, you're next.
Thank you. Yes, it was a wonderful event. I mean, I think we kind of talked about if we just get 10 people there, we will be happy, and we had more than that. And it just like connected and flowed together, so we were grateful for that. I think the biggest compliment too was the 25 high school volunteers that were there, and they said that if we had this event again, that they want to come back and volunteer for it. So they said that they had a lot of fun, but they also accessed resources and made connections. and I thought, that impacted them. But it was a wonderful event. Yes.
Commissioner Khan?
I felt that in a lot of respects it was successful, and as you said, my kids enjoyed it. And usually they don't, they come and they leave, but they stayed all the way to the end. They enjoyed the the events, the sound bath, and the yoga that was going on. And I think until the last time, either the folks were going back again to or they were relaxing. I don't know what they were doing. However, those two sessions just sounded like they were always busy, which was a great thing. And to my surprise also, when we went into these little workshops, especially the English one, I mean, in 15, 20 people, that was like great. I mean, I didn't think it was going to happen. Just like Commissioner Branha said, that I think this was our first time. A lot of things just, I mean, we were thinking of interactive, but it didn't quite become interactive because it just was not, you couldn't piece. And I think that is a great suggestion. And I would continue, I mean, whether we're here or not, but I'd like to see this program continue year after year. And somehow, as the Commissioner Branha suggested, if we divided these committees, marketing is probably one of the major things, and targeted marketing. And I think that probably lacked, because we have everyone, but that everyone, you can actually target everyone to do whatever they need to do, but they have to have a purpose, and that will probably encourage the participation. So that was my second thought. And other than that, I think it was just quite an experience. Everyone just enjoyed, whoever came in. And again, I don't need to mention a whole lot, but I think Matthew is an excellent, he pulled in every piece of what was committed to its place and on time also. And thank you.
I wholeheartedly agree that we leaned very heavily both on Matthew and our event lead. And part of that, I think, is just as you said, we didn't know exactly what to expect. And all of us who have organized events have never had Brown Act restrictions on top of that. So we learned a lot. I'm going to just read quickly what the feedback from our chair, and then Commissioner Herrera and Fitzsimmons, we'd love to hear from you as well. She has really great features of the event were the variety of booth participants and the broad range of information and resources that were provided, the interactive yoga and sound immersion, having entertainment, and the aerial gymnastics. I really agree that I think that's why we got a lot of media coverage, is because there was something very visual and fantastic to shoot. There was a great use of the spaces, which I agree, and utilizing the stamp cards really encouraged attendees to visit all the booths, and our student and family member volunteers were invaluable, and I thank each of them for giving their time and energy that day. It's really great to hear that the volunteers had a good time. Recommendations she had for consideration for next year, should we choose to do this again, is to maybe shorten the event to 3 hours to include abbreviated opening kickoff, have a music playlist to add to the festive mood, have a separate raffle for the student volunteers with 2 to 3 prizes that are specifically tailored to younger high school students, decrease the number of raffle prizes, fewer but greater value, 2 to 3 prizes per hour with a need to be present to win, so posting the schedule and description of prizes for each drawing session at the beginning of the event. She noted that we have about 34 raffle winners we're trying to contact, and that's definitely going to be another time-consuming task for staff, and winners may decide not to pick up their prizes. And then lastly, to simplify the pre-registration process by maybe using Eventbrite as the platform. The navigation of the city's website might have been a little cumbersome for people. And but the other alternative that she had was just to have on-site registration, because people did sign up at the table and to all of your points. There were a good number of participants in the workshop. So she thanked everyone for their additional input. And Commissioner Herrera, do you have some comments to share with us?
First of all, we give Matthew too much credit. He's used to this stuff already, man. This is what he does. I see him all the time, and he's like running around like crazy.
I don't think
I don't know.
anyone realized how big this event was going to be, especially Matthew.
Yeah, so thanks, Matthew. We appreciate that. You're used to it, right? All right. So I want to thank the committee, obviously. Great, just amazing job. I think you had a big, Commissioner Brainhard, you had a bigger vision. It got narrowed down a little bit. I think it's possible to build on that, right? I think that's what we're gonna do. We're probably gonna build on that, and hopefully one day we'll get what you really envisioned all the way out. I know it's a lot of work. I heard you. I was like, man, don't back down, please. But I think it's something that we can achieve. I think we can definitely have different things in the future, maybe like some jumpers. I think Matthew, I was talking to Matthew that we've had events with jumpers, but due to COVID, we don't have that. We haven't rolled it out yet, right? So maybe a couple of jumpers, maybe have somebody donate jumpers. I can definitely make some calls and see who's willing to contribute to this great cause. But again, that's going to be up to the body of the commission and then the subcommittee to figure out. So thank you so much. I saw you really cared about this, and I know that you took it really near and dear, and I know everybody did care about it as well, but that was your task, your baby, for a lack of words, and I think it was a success. Can we do better? Yeah, we can always do better. Okay, so with that said, also I wanted to give thanks to Commissioner Borja. With all those amazing volunteers, I can't believe that you got so many people to help out, so many youth. I think this is very important to get the youth involved. And you did that. And so thank you. I got to meet a couple of them. They're really, 15, 16-year-olds and just full of life and ready to help. And they've been cooped up on COVID. They haven't been able to go to school until recently, and then they were just full of life, and you can see them. They were just happy. So I want to thank them, and I want to thank you particular for making that happen. I think everybody played a puzzle, was a puzzle to this bigger. It was a piece to the particular bigger puzzle, right? To this bigger picture, right? Everybody played a role. I know I had some gift cards, modest gift cards, but that's everybody. I know you mentioned thanks for the gift cards, but it's not about that. It's about what we created as a whole, and everybody working together to achieve one common goal. And I think we did a good job. I think we all did a good job, especially with your leadership. So thank you, and thank you for having the volunteers as well. And Commissioner Khan, I saw you there also, and Commissioner Khan was there putting up banners. I was running around trying to get everybody together because our chair wanted everybody together to have what is it called, a get together, a quick, what is it called, a huddle, and then I had to go get Commissioner Khan out of the ladder, you know. But it was overall a great event, right? This is what community looks like. We not only what we're doing behind the scenes, but also what we're doing for the community to enable them to be part of the community and come back together, and then getting the youth involved and inviting everybody. It's just a cohesive effort to get something bigger than what we ever thought could happen. And so thank you, everybody. With that said, when it comes to marketing, I know I have a question as far as did we reach out? It was mentioned to me by our community member, Ginny Raya. Did we happen to reach out? I know it's different to, I guess we're how can I put it? It's after the fact, but I want to see if there's any lessons learned, right? I know we reached out to AYC and they were supportive, but did we reach out to CASA?
I'm not entirely sure if we reached out to them. I'd have to go back and see which community groups were reached out to. but they definitely would have had the opportunity
Right.
to
It was
to
out there.
join.
It was
Yeah.
out there. And
And
I
I would imagine many of their board members would have heard about the
Right,
event as well,
right.
and we would have
Okay,
welcomed them.
okay.
Yeah, but we
Fair,
can add that to
fair
the
enough.
list for
Fair
future
enough.
ones.
And what that sparked is the conversation of having a list, right? Like you just mentioned, having a list of all these other nonprofit organizations that we can really reach out to by sending one quick email, right? Having actually list put up or something, even the webs on a website where we can, I don't know, is there a list of all the nonprofits maybe we can get together or we can work on this list just to refresh? You know, some organizations maybe not longer with us, some organizations maybe got stronger, but is it possible to build a list of all the organizations that are out there?
Yeah, we do have a list of nonprofits and community-based groups in I think it's like the second to last page of the recreation guide that goes out quarterly. So if you want to take a look at that, I'm almost positive organizations like La Casa and the Women's Foundation are included in there. If for some reason it's not, or an organization that you feel maybe isn't even relevant anymore, maybe they are no longer with us, they're not in the city, then we could look at removing those and adding in ones that maybe formed more recently that we may have overlooked somehow.
Do we have on that list by any chance the Knights of Columbus?
I'm not sure. I can look it up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just trying to see because I was talking to some people and they're more than willing to come out and spread the word and help out, even not necessarily just youth, but we have a lot of seniors that want to come out and interact. So that would be something interesting just to make sure that all our avenues are covered in the future and an actual list that we can just massively send out like a blast email to everybody that wants to get involved. I think that would be a good idea. So why this mental health fair was important for me, it's because when I was 19, I've only come out with this I made a video about this. When I was 19, I suffered from mental health illness. I had a breakdown, a real bad breakdown. I was experimenting with marijuana, right? I didn't know better, and I went down this slippery slope where I was not thinking rational, right? So luckily I had support, which a lot of people don't have support sometimes, and they end up doing, let's just say, worse than me, right? But my family helped me out, and I was able to go to school. I was able to take different mental health, natural medicine supplements, and I went to school. I got my degree in political science. I've worked a regular 9-to-5 job now, and I think having that support and having your community have something like this is very important because the stigma, like Vice Chair Goto was mentioning, it's a bad stigma, and people kind of can be afraid to come out. So the fact that we have this avenue where people can come out, and we're kind of normalizing that it's okay to have mental health problems as long as you're seeking help, I think that's really important. And I think that our city supporting mental health is very vital, and it again brings a sense of community that, hey, your community's here, or your city's here to back you up. So thank you.
Thank you for that. In the interest of time, I'm not going to repeat things that have already been said, but I have a few items. I do want to underscore that the planning process. Oh, I'm sorry, Sue. Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did arrive a little late, but I made it a point to go around to each one of the vendors and talk to them, and they were all very, very engaging. And that's important when you have a city event, is that they're all very engaging and they're all very anxious to provide information, and good job, very good job with that, because that's the key to your success, is to have good vendors. So, hang on to that vendor list, and if indeed you do plan for another, I would suggest start planning a little bit earlier because it makes it a little bit easier and a little bit less stressful. There's always going to be stress the day of, but if you give yourself a little more time, then you're not felt as though you're boxed into a corner. Thank you.
That's a great segue. I do think the planning, the length of our planning time definitely has to be expanded. A few of the things, I agree, the exhibitors were excellent. We may want to focus a bit more on workshops and workshop topics to appeal to different populations, as was mentioned. You know, maybe something around social isolation would be something of interest to senior citizens, or stress reduction to pretty much everyone. Some way to drive the attendance throughout the day, because I did notice like around 2:30, 3 o'clock, there was definitely a lull. So if we are able to expand our planning horizon and have those workshop topics ahead of time, I think it'll help us with that targeted marketing to particular groups that might, have interest. And I know our chair already mentioned that maybe we want to shorten the length even of the event. I definitely think we need a tighter schedule. We ended up, starting late, and that kind of threw us off. So building in contingencies for that. One thing I'd like to look into, I know you mentioned having a budget early on, maybe looking into having translation equipment so that we could combine those workshops that were in 3 languages into one. Then we might have a larger group for each. I know that, some organizations like school districts and things have, on-site translation with the little headphones and someone translating, and how much that costs, I don't know, but we could look into that as a possibility. And then really, I just think, maybe having the announcements in both areas would be something to consider. We didn't really think about that, when we were trying to put it all together, but there were quite a number of people in both areas, so I think that would be helpful. And maybe even printing out a map that could, we had that wonderful big schedule that we printed out, and maybe a map of the event, because quite a number of the people who were at the exhibitors didn't know there was another part. And so I know that one of Commissioner Borja's volunteers put up a big sign, that said activities this way. But people did miss out on some of the great stuff that was there. I think Sunday was a great choice of a day. I think it gave families an opportunity to attend together. I would like us to think about maybe moving it away from Mexican Independence Day, because I think we ran into a bit of conflict with some other activities that were happening in the city of LA and also in the city of Alhambra, which, is our close neighbor. So some of the other things that just logistically, maybe having, if we're going to do a budget for next year, maybe thinking about having a photographer that we could hire and make sure that we get pictures of everything. I know we did a pretty good job that day of running around and trying to do that on our own, but maybe that's one less thing that we would have to manage. And then if there's a way that we can create some kind of feedback loop to collect data, because I'm not sure if we know how many people attended overall. We could probably have to guesstimate that, but if there's a way to do that, I think it would be really helpful to know. And then people have already mentioned the raffle, having separate raffles, which I think is a great idea. I had a couple of follow-up questions to throw out there. I know that Commissioner Brenhag and our chair were already in discussion about sending out thank you letters to all those who were involved. Are we able to get the template for the city's, I guess, letterhead with the HERE Commission that we could use, or is that something that we have to provide to you to do? We're trying to ease the burden on you, Matthew.
Sure. So are you thinking to have it come from the commission itself, or?
Yes.
Yeah?
I think yeah.
I don't foresee that being an issue at all. So we can provide that if you need us to draft anything and then send it off, or if you want to completely take it, that's completely fine as well.
Okay.
Especially since it's a thank you, it's not a conflict with anything.
Okay, great. We definitely want to reduce the amount of that we ask you to do, because we know that there are many events coming up in the next couple of months. And then one thing we were also thinking about, I think some of the other commissioners have mentioned, creating a contact list. We did collect some information on the raffle forms. Are we able to use that as a distribution contact list, or are there privacy issues around that?
So you're typically, we should have included like a
Yeah.
disclaimer on there that
Okay.
it would be used for at a later date.
Got
So
it.
I would stray away from that, and
Got
then
it.
maybe we can capture them in the future.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. And then we had a little discussion up here about getting an event link on the Here Commission webpage, maybe to an event page. So we can talk about that in the future and help put together some content, and then maybe bring that to you to discuss with our PIO. But I think one of the other things that I wanted to think about for our next event was posting some kind of like photo release. I've seen at events where, you know, if you come into this event, you are being photographed, because we don't really have release forms, so you know, we wouldn't be able to use any photos where you can recognize people's faces in any, you know, future marketing materials. So we can think about doing that for you know, the next time around. And then just, I don't know if you have any idea or how many people you would estimate were there.
To be honest, I couldn't tell you. I
Yeah.
was running around quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're looking at it respectively based off of different areas, and it's difficult to know how much of that was overlap. As most people have stated, the English presentations were pretty highly attended. So if you had 20, 25 each of there, plus then you had the people circulating at the expo booths, and then you had the families that were out in the kids section. So if I had to guesstimate, it would be somewhere between 200 to 300, but I could be off as well. So.
I know, it was and I don't know how we would capture that data. I mean, you know, if there's one entrance, then someone can stand there and click, but obviously there were multiple ways to access the event. But I think that it was great. I think that hopefully it was well attended for all the exhibitors. I think everyone felt like it was worth their time. And I think in our thank you letter, we'll definitely invite them to participate again. And you know, definitely want to make a decision soon about, you know, whether we want to carry this forward, because I do think that the planning time will need to be extended. And I will say that I found out that September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, so September might be a good time to keep it. Are there any other items? I'm sure we'll discuss more in the future, but yes, Commissioner Khan.
Last comment. Along the lines of marketing, I think that if we had a script, and as has been suggested, if we started out earlier, we could probably go door to door, and in terms of especially when you have senior citizens events and other events like social events and people get together, we could do some sort of presentation or just a script, but it'll say, hey, this is what's happening. That would probably encourage a lot more people to come in.
That is definitely a great idea, to go to organizations to help spread the word. We didn't have a lot of lead time this time, but I think we did try to do it through email and the flyer. But yeah, if we can get the information early, that's really key.
I think, yeah, the marketing, if we just were to create a little committee of this and that and then divide the functions, probably will be just ideal.
Great. Well, I did make some notes about some of the suggestions that Commissioner Brunha had, and I'm happy to maybe do a first draft of some roles and responsibilities that we might be able to have different commissioners, you know, take charge of to help with the planning. So I can work on that. Anything else? Besides, it was a fantastic event. And once again, we really appreciate everybody pitching in and also showing up and participating. I think we got some really great feedback. One of the little tags from the gratitude tree, they were grateful for the event. So that was really nice to hear. All right. Okay, if there's nothing more, then we'll move on to the next item, which is the Native American Heritage Month. Matthew, do you have any update on that?
So we should have the video ready that we were working on last year for Native American Heritage Month. I did want to put it on the agenda just to be sure if there was anything else that the commission wanted to do. My recommendation would be that that is the highlight, and we can do a really large push on it since none of the public has seen that video, so it would be brand new to the public, assuming that both tribal leaders sign off on it. But if there's anything beyond that other than what City Council will likely do, which is the proclamation, but anything beyond that, we would likely need to discuss now and try to get finalized.
I know we tried to do an essay, was it an essay contest that we really was a little bit too last minute. So I think the video would be wonderful, just sort of use that to highlight the Heritage Month and sort of bring awareness to that. That's something that we maybe could also add as a link to our page on the website. Does anyone else have other thoughts about? Native American Heritage Month is November, so it's literally around the corner.
Yeah, I think, it is a tight schedule and it's really hard to get things done like in a really timely way. So I don't think that for this year we probably, should do anything else. I do feel like there are a lot of things, kind of in the works with the land acknowledgement statement, and then even like the suggested uses for that and the continued kind of collaboration with the tribal leaders. I'm like hoping, I don't know how to make that into something that we carry on, but because I know as far as that land acknowledgement statement advisory committee, the purpose of that committee is just to create or like draft up a land acknowledgement statement to be approved by council, and then to suggest possible uses for it in the future. And so if there are proposals for what we do after that or any work that we do towards that end, it would probably have to be another committee or another body that's formed to do those things. And I don't know, that's not really part of our work plan for this year, right? Like that kind of thing.
Correct. So if you were looking to do an event or something, as far as going back to the LAS proposed uses, then you would need to put that in the work plan for 2023 to get approved by council, since it would be something a bit larger, similar to how the LAS was presented. And then of course, if you're working with another body with more than, or two people or more, then it's going to create that additional body like we did with the LAS. So if it's something that just stays within the HERE Commission, that's probably going to be a bit easier to do, because then you can create a subcommittee just on that particular event or implementation of those uses.
Is there a speaker for November that we're having?
I think that we had set aside speakers for November because we may be in discussions for the work plan, but I see where you're thinking. If you'd like to reach out to a speaker.
I don't have an idea for a speaker, but if anyone has an idea, even like the history of San Gabriel and because I would like to see maybe even having the social science students at the high school be able to listen to the topic as a history lesson.
Would the Historical Society be part of that? Bring them in?
I think we may already have Family Promise scheduled
apologies.
for November.
Okay.
If we don't, then staff, we can look into those options as well. They may be the October speaker, and then November and December might be blank for the work purposes of the work plan. But I can send an email out to follow up with all of you on that.
Okay. And maybe if other commissioners, if you have suggestions on a potential speaker for Native American History Month, please send your ideas to Matthew. great.
If I may, I like where you're going with this, with having somebody, potentially giving us some history, especially if Native American history here in the city of San Gabriel. Given whoever we get, right, I'm sure we can find somebody. Matthew will work his magic, and our team will also. But I would like to see more engagement here in our dais, right? So what about, and this directly to Commissioner Borja, what about extending an invitation just for that small little period? I don't know how feasible it would be, but to some youth, I don't know if you can throw it out there so they could at least come in and check out a video, or whoever is going to speak. We can make this like an educational kind of moment, and they don't really have to stay for the whole meeting. They could probably just stay for that presentation. I don't know if there's a way to invite them.
Yes, I can talk to the social science teachers. I think the major issue is the transportation,
Right.
The parents. So they could have that option of coming here in person, which is good, or watching it on the channel 3. Yes. Or
Right.
YouTube.
And possibly, I don't know how much sway you have over there, but having it more of you write a report afterwards. I don't want to give them extra work, but extra credit kind of opportunity, just to get more engagement.
It's an interesting idea because at the Mental Wellness Expo, there were quite a number of students from Rio Hondo College in the nursing program that they wanted to submit their raffle ticket, but they wanted to keep it because they were submitting it to one of their professors for extra credit. So we just cut off the bottom. But so obviously there was a professor who had promoted the event, which is great, and the students said that they had a really great time. So I like the idea of that invitation, and maybe there's a broader group because I do know it's very difficult for transportation for high school students. All right, so to summarize, if anyone has ideas for a Native American Heritage Month speaker, please send them to Matthew. I would say sooner rather than later. And then you can let us know if somebody's already scheduled for November. So the next item we have is gathering information on demographics, the engagement survey.
Sure. So I did want to touch on one item before the engagement survey, if I may.
Of course.
And so it's specific to the Commission's request for the demographics of the employees versus the demographics, or in comparison to the demographics of the city residents. So we did confirm that that's not something that that HR takes in at any point, nor that any of the respective departments do for just their departments. It isn't something that by law we can require people to disclose to the city. It would, if it were to be something that the city asks employees, it would have to be fully optional. So we wanted to ask the commission if there were any thoughts or ideas as to how best to collect that, or if there was a preference in which to collect that, keeping in mind that at any point 0 employees could submit a response to that, or decline to state at any point. So kind of with all of that in mind, I wasn't sure exactly what direction you wanted to take that in. Obviously we can give you the residents, it's just the employees that there's certain laws that prohibit mandating it.
Do you know if they've ever asked the employees to disclose that information on a voluntary basis?
To my understanding, we have not in the past. We do have an employee information sheet, but none of that is included on the sheet.
And I wonder if there's a way, how we have on our survey sort of an anonymous way to collect it, like through a Survey Monkey kind of situation where people could select, or usually there's an option, decline to state, just to see what the rate would be of people willing to. I think if there was a statement also, if for the purposes of it, because I know a lot of companies do report out their DEI statistics, so I'm not sure how they go about doing that, but that it may be a self-disclosure kind of situation as well. So I know that's not, you know, super accurate, because you never know how many people are going to actually be willing to provide that information. But I wonder if the HR department would be willing to kind of pilot that and just maybe put an easy kind of survey out that people could participate in. Any other ideas about that?
HR would be the one that would have the statistics.
HR would have to be the one to send it out, because they do the communication with the employees, I would assume. So, and if it were sort of anonymous, then it wouldn't necessarily be, you know, tied to a particular employee's, you know, record or anything like that. So I think maybe if we could come up with some kind of verbiage about why we're looking for it, you know, in the interest of evaluating our diversity. We're putting this optional survey out. And I think it's important too, I know in a lot of surveys you can only pick one category, and sometimes, but I have also taken surveys where you can click multiple. So I don't know if that would be helpful or would muddle up our data collection, but I do think it's helpful to either have a category for multiracial or allow people to click as many options as they want. Perhaps we could go back to our HR representative and ask what the feasibility is of doing something like that. Hopefully it wouldn't be too much of a logistical challenge if it's something like a SurveyMonkey. Because I think it would be of interest for us to know.
So, quick question. So, is that something that we have to go through the employees, or is that just something that we can just ask HR a straight, blunt question? Hey, what was the makeup?
Yes, so HR would be not providing factual information if they were to provide that, since that's not something we have on file.
Got
So my recommendation, if a survey is the route that the commission wants to go, is that we draft it based off of the information that the commission has provided tonight in the direction, draft something, run it by HR to see if that's something that would be appropriate or something that would fall within their guidelines, and then bring it back to the commission to say, okay, well, this was feedback from HR, this is based off of what the discussion was, this is what the questions would be, is this even what you're looking for? Because we would hate to reach out to the staff, have them fill out a survey, and then it's actually not the information that you're looking for.
Got it.
Well, if we can get HR's feedback on what they think the feasibility would be, I think that would be great. Any other comments on that? Okay.
So, one quick comment. So, are we coming up with questions now, or how are we going to go about this? This is obviously a new survey that we're talking about now, right?
This would just be a survey for the city employees.
Yeah.
So we would not be administering it. It would have to go through HR.
Okay. And as far as the question, would we will have feedback, right, on the questions that we want to hear?
Correct, yeah. So we would base the development of the questions based off of the previous discussions that the commission has had, as well as tonight's discussion. So if there's something in particular that you want included for the purpose of this survey, or this data collection, that you think would be helpful in the end goal, then we can definitely add that in. Or once you've seen it at the next commission meeting and you're like, this has absolutely nothing to do with what the end goal is,
right,
and you want to start from scratch, we can do that as well.
Right, I think we have to figure out what the goal for the survey is, what kind of information we want to get. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? All right, we can move forward to the engagement survey. Matthew provided, I think, the latest. in our packets. It doesn't look like we've gotten too many since the last time we've looked at it, if I'm not mistaken.
So it looks like there's 105 responses, which isn't terrible for a survey. I'll be honest. It's not that bad. I mean, of course, we all want a large population to respond to a survey, but especially a survey this size, and something that's not necessarily everyone's go-to topic to talk about. In my opinion, I think it did well. I will call out a few items, kind of moving through it, just so that everyone is on the same page. For the question 2, what diversity, equity, and inclusion areas you think are the most important to address in the city of San Gabriel. The top were civic engagement, cultural awareness and education, and mental health services, which with mental health services actually being at the top. So it was kind of the perfect timing, considering that the commission just completed that large event. To the question 3, which events in the city of San Gabriel have you attended in the last 3 years? The 3 were Dumplings and Beer Fest, Holiday Tree Lighting, and Lunar New Year. So none of which are cultural events. But keeping in mind that there were a portion of time during the last 3 years where we weren't hosting large city functions. So just something to keep in mind as you're analyzing those results. Question 7 of how did you get information about programs or activities that are happening in the city of San Gabriel? So this is how they're currently receiving the information. It was the city website, Facebook, and the Grapevine Guide, with the city website being the top, followed by the Grapevine Guide and then Facebook. And then what I equally found interesting was on question 8, which is how the public would like to receive the information. So not actually how they're receiving it, but how they'd like to. It topped out with Facebook. So if you compare that to question 7, that was the third method, the third highest in the way in which people were receiving information. So potentially they're wanting a bigger push is potentially what those results are indicating. The next 2 were the city website and the city e-newsletter is where they're looking to receive the information. So those were the areas. And then at the same token at question 10, which I mentioned last time, we didn't receive any responses from 14 to 17 and 13 and younger.
I think that might significantly change the Facebook as the first.
Yes. No, I can try to get 100 for the 14 to 17 by asking the peer helping classes to fill this out, because they attended there. A lot of them came to the event as the volunteers, and the FBLA.
Okay,
yes.
awesome.
I think that would be great. It'll be interesting to see how it changes with their input. Was there anything else on that, Matthew?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It's I know it's a little disappointing just to get 100, but I do think we actually got quite a number at National Night Out when we were raffling off items to get people to do the survey. But to me, that's also maybe one of the missed opportunities at the expo, was to really promote the HERE Commission. So I think we need to work on some marketing materials for ourselves. I know we were in the midst of trying to put the event together, but maybe if we can do something like a one sheet that could be at any of the events that we attend or host moving forward, I think that would be helpful too. So would you, Matthew, suggest that we keep this survey open and just continue to try to push? Because I assume that we can filter by the date so that we could see which, or can we?
I wish I had the answer to that, but unfortunately I don't. I've never tried to filter by the date, so I apologize. I would have to double check. I would imagine that SurveyMonkey has some way to do that, but unfortunately I don't know. My recommendation would be that it only stays open for maybe a month or two longer to capture the youth population that Commissioner Borja is able to, and then close it.
Okay.
Maybe adding one more round of incentives that's maybe targeted to the youth population. That maybe there's a local business that they really love going to, or there's a shopping place that they really like going to. And then closing it, and then kind of packing the results, or I guess unpacking the results, analyzing, and then packing it away.
I think that's probably a good suggestion. And, you know, if we want to compare, then we could always open another survey. But Commissioner Borja, how long do you think we might need to get the students' input?
I'm going to talk to them tomorrow.
Oh, okay, great. Well, maybe we'll only need a couple more months then. Yeah. Do we want to? I think we had some incentive items that were left over. Commissioner Borja, would you like to provide one of the incentive items that we could choose randomly from? Well, we'd have to check to see if we were able to filter those out. I guess we could tell by they'd be in the 14 to 17-year-old category. So we could randomly pick someone to receive one of the Target gift cards or something as an incentive for them, or
I think if the teachers assign it,
they'll do it.
that
Okay.
They'll do it.
Teachers are the incentive. Excellent. Okay, great. Well, maybe we'll make one more push with the public as well, and see what we can come up with. It's true. Good point. Since that's very highly attended. All right, great. Let's see, the next item, and I know we are running a bit long, but gathering information on the number of people accessing the translated agendas.
My apologies. I was hoping to have the information by then, but we haven't pulled it together, so I should have that for you at the next commission
Okay,
meeting.
no problem. All right. Well, do we have any public comments on this discussion item?
We do not.
All right, then the time for public comment on this item is now closed. And we are to our commission reports. So each commissioner may address the HEAR Commission and public on matters of general information and or concern. This is the time for the commissioners to report on conferences or meetings they have attended. Staff members have the opportunity to address the commission and public on matters of general information and or concern. So I guess we'll go down the line. Shall we start on this end, Commissioner? Oh, we're going to start on this end, Commissioner Brenna. That was a pass to you.
I don't have anything this month. Thank you.
Commissioner Borja?
I don't have anything to report.
I have nothing to report.
All right. Commissioner Herrera?
Just happy Hispanic Heritage Month. That's it.
Yeah, there was just a the organization which has helped us out throughout the pandemic. I'm forgetting the name. It's yes, Ignore Relief had a fundraiser just this past weekend, and they collected. Their target was somewhere about $1 million, and I think they collected 1.2. So
Wow.
that was a good one. That's all I have to say.
Great. Should we come back to you, Commissioner Fitzsimmons?
Yes. I am having a neighborhood watch block party October 8th, which is a Saturday. It's at 3 o'clock until 7 at my house. I have flyers here. All are invited to attend. If you want to bring your favorite casserole or some munchies or something, it's going to be in my front yard. Police are going to be there, fire's going to be there, neighbors are going to be there. We're going to have lots of people, so you're certainly invited. I will give each one of you a brochure because it gives my address on there. Please come.
Do you have room for all of us?
Yes, sir, it's in the front yard.
Still
We can spread out to the neighbors' yards if we
She's
have
got
to.
room for police. Don't think about it.
Thank you. I have a few items. As Commissioner Herrera mentioned, Hispanic Heritage Month continues until October 15th with many activities throughout Los Angeles County. But if people are not quite comfortable going out in large groups, I'd suggest the Tiny Desk Concert Series. It's been taken over by Latinx artists on the National Public Radio website. And you can find all the past performances and upcoming schedule by Googling Tiny Desk Concerts. Also, this Friday, September 30th, is Day Without Us, a collective action and national teach-in around reproductive justice that is organized by Black women and supported by the Women's March Foundation. There's going to be a mix of in-person and virtual events and a hashtag, Day Without Us. You can find more information and a kickoff video on the website, daywithoutus.com. And then finally, on Wednesday, October 5th, we have California Clean Air Day 2022. It's a day that's built around the idea that shared experiences unite people to improve our community's health. And the goal is to join together for a unified day of action to create new habits that improve the air for all members of California's diverse communities. And you can take the Clean Air Pledge to change some habits, anything from composting to putting up solar panels to recycling at www.cleanairday.org. And that's it for me. Does any of the staff have any reports they would like to announce? Mark? Okay, no staff reports. So the next regular HERE Commission meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Information regarding matters to be considered at each meeting will be available on the Friday before the HERE Commission meeting on the city's website at www.sangabrielcity.com. This regular meeting of the HERE Commission is now adjourned at 8:32 p.m. Thank you, everyone.